You know what time it is. It's time for another episode of the 7 and a Hook Podcast, the world's premier sports betting podcast. Your source for the best information and insight when it comes to sports wagering. We cover it all because you bet on it all. So let's head up to the studio and get this show rolling.
Hello and welcome everyone to tonight's episode of the 7 and a Hook Podcast, the world's premier sports betting podcast. I am Brooksie, the Irish Insider, along with my co-partner in crime, EZ Money, Eric LaFleche. EZ Money, what's going on tonight, my friend?
Not too much, Patrick. Having fun over here at 7 and a Hook, and we hope to make the audience out there a lot of money tonight. So let's get right to it.
Yeah, we might as well. Hey, listen, this is our 6th episode. All right, we've been at this a little over a month and a half.
Not that we're counting.
Not that we're counting, no, but have had a lot of people follow us on our socials,
Yep.
and pretty much 7 and a Hook everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, find us on Facebook, website coming, the number 7 and a Hook. You will find us. YouTube also. We got a bunch of videos up there, a lot of content. Last week we didn't have a show. I was actually on the road, and I was in Sin City, Vegas, and I put up a bunch of videos out there. Eric, that was my first time back since pre-COVID, and it was nice to get to all those sports books again. Felt like home, you know?
It looked like you're having a good time out there.
I did. And
Again, Instagram, Twitter, you can find all those videos on the Facebook page, 7 and a Hook. In this show, just a quick synopsis of what the show's all about. We cover all of the things that you can bet on and do bet on, whether it's MMA, soccer, hockey, basketball, baseball, football, college football, golf, tennis, everything that you can imagine, auto racing, whatever you guys want to bet on, we're going to cover it, and we're going to tell you the best avenue to take. Our insiders tell us. We form a very educated opinion.
yeah,
Extremely educated.
with our moles. Our moles help.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we've actually have a pretty good track record this
We do. Matter of fact, our last 2 episodes, you can go watch 39 and 27 against the spread. That's 12 units to the good. I mean,
Yes.
depending on how much you're wagering, that's a pretty good payday after a couple
I wagered
weeks, right?
600,000 last week, so.
Well, listen, then
But
why are you
we didn't
here?
have a show, so I lost everything.
Oh, but that's okay.
If I was listening to 7 and a Hook, I would have
Right.
made some money.
You
So,
should take your own advice and take your picks. But
that's
yeah,
absolutely correct. So let's get right into tonight's show.
yeah. Go ahead. What do we got on tap tonight? So-
You and I are both going to give 2 spotlighted college football games. We're going to spotlight 2 college football games that we think that you guys need to watch, possibly put some wagers on, maybe some prop bets. Going to bet the total, the points, the over/under, whatever. We're going to cover it all. And then we're each going to break down the upcoming Thursday night game, which is tomorrow, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars, the lowly Jaguars.
Yeah.
And I have some thoughts on this versus the Bengals, who really
Surprising.
came out big
Right?
last week against
Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
surprising.
And then what else we got going on?
Well,
tonight?
then we're going to go to the NFL. We're going to each pick 3 spotlight games, as we like to call them, and give our insights. You know, which way to put down the shekels. We're then going to go to Monday Night Football, and we're each going to give our take on the Raiders versus the Chargers. 2 teams, again, playing pretty good football right now this season. And we're going to end with a new segment. It's actually Eric's brainchild. During the week when we put up what we call kind of quick hitters and some videos, who we like, some games or props. But we decided to add it to the show, and at the end, Eric and I, not deep, in-depth analysis, just a couple sentences here and there about some quick hitters and some things you might want to take a look at. So
just some over/unders, what we're going to choose.
Yeah.
And quick to the next one.
Bang, boom. We're going to give you some additional picks, because that's really what the show's all about.
Absolutely.
So, all right, so let's go right to pigskin and a little college football. Why don't you kick it off, Eric? What is your first spotlight game?
My first breakdown game, and again, these are going to be quick hits, so to speak. We're going to do a little bit of everything on these college football games. Is the Arkansas Razorbacks going to Georgia to visit the Georgia Bulldogs? Both top 10 teams in the AP. And it's really, I can't believe the line, first of all, is Georgia's favored by 18.
Yeah.
And this line's accounting for Arkansas's 2 big victories this year against Texas and Texas Tech, with they're both underdogs.
Yeah.
Georgia's tough, very tough, but I found that line, I thought it was a mistake. I can see Georgia favored by a touchdown maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe 7 and a hook, but 18 is really problemsome. So I went digging to try to find, is there a major injury that I didn't see? What's going on with the Razorbacks? And I think it's basically because the line makers are feeling that the Georgia Bulldog running back, Zamir White, cannot be contained by the Arkansas defensive line.
That front 7, yeah.
But I'm going to tell you right now, if they do keep White under control, I really believe Arkansas has a chance to win this. Now, I'm not going to go on a limb and say they're going to beat Georgia at Georgia, but as far as an 18-point, I really find it hard to believe that Georgia is going to cover this game. I love Georgia's offense. I love the defense. They are a better team. Overall, they're a much better team. Special teams are better than Arkansas. But Arkansas is flying high.
They are.
They beat 2 of the teams that they weren't supposed to beat to start the season off. And I like the over on the points, which is 48. Okay? I like that over. Both teams can put some points up. I like Georgia. They're not going to cover, and I like the over on the points. So,
Arkansas getting 18.
I think that's a very solid bet.
I think that's a live play. I think, and I honestly think Arkansas is kind of playing with house money at this point. I'm really surprised.
Are they overachieving? I don't know. If you look at that Texas Tech game, they lit them up.
They did.
I mean, and talk about an emotional victory. And these guys, the confidence has never been higher in recent memory for the Hogs. So they're going into the Georgia Bulldogs, the Bulldog land. I mean, yeah, Georgia's tough. But boy, oh boy, I like Arkansas with those points.
Yeah, no, I understand where you went with that one. So, okay. My first spotlight game of the evening is Virginia Cavaliers at your favorite thing, the U, at Miami. The Canes. Canes are a -4 home favorite. Points total at 62. All right, each team comes into this game 2-2. And this is Thursday Night Lights, right? This is the U is going to be a zoo down there. This is ESPN, only game in town, so it's going to be party central. Okay, so it's going to be a pretty, let's say, hostile environment for Virginia Cavaliers to make that trip down. Now, Virginia, this year, unfortunately, they're playing the same old song, and that is our offense can score a lot, and our defense is really good. Not. Okay, like their defense is horrendous, their offense is great. That's usually not a recipe for a lot of wins.
Yeah.
Okay. Now their quarterback, Brennan Armstrong, is leading the nation. 426 yards per game, Eric, in the air. That's phenomenal, right? You should be winning every game.
Right.
Well, their defense gives up 6.5 yards per play. I mean, they don't stop anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's why they're 113th in the nation in defense. So Miami last week destroyed Central Connecticut 69-0 in kind of a let's get everything right game, and they did. Now they did that without their starting quarterback Derek King, who was out with a shoulder injury. So the backup quarterbacks Jake Garcia and Tyler Van Dyke split time. They had a really good day, 417 yards in the air, 5 touchdowns, but it was, Central Connecticut, okay? This week, Derek King may not be playing, okay? Again, I don't know for certain, but as of right now, he's questionable. I think regardless of whether it's Derek King or Garcia or Van Dyke, Virginia's in for a long day, okay? Virginia is terrible. I mean, they literally got stomped by Wake Forest last week, and they got stomped by North Carolina the week before. They let up 600 yards rushing in 2 games. Their defense is not good. So I like Miami in this game. Mm-hmm. Last 6 meetings, Miami's won 6 of them. Okay. 31 points a game, Miami averages on offense. They let up 26. Not a great defense either. Go to Virginia, 35 points a game they score. They let up 27. These teams don't play a lot of defense. They each score a lot of points. So I like Miami, and I like the over 62.
Miami and the over 62.
Yeah.
Let me write this down.
The U. Did I do that again?
Why? Why did you do it again?
I think I do it because you don't like it. You know what I mean?
Well, it must be something to that effect.
I have that big brother syndrome. I used to pick on my sister a lot. When she didn't like something, I was going to do it.
You are so much older than I am. So.
Yes, that's very true.
Moving on. My next college football game is the Oregon Ducks visiting Stanford. Oregon's favored by 8 on the road, and the point is 57.5. The over/under on the points. This is a lot versus a little. Oregon's 4-0, and they're visiting the 2-2 Stanford team.
Yeah.
Now, Oregon's averaging 10 points, actually almost 10 exactly more than Stanford, and they're allowing 8 fewer per game. And this is early in the season.
Yeah.
But overall, every single, especially the most incredible stat is that Oregon has 13 takeaways this year already.
Wow.
Versus Stanford 3. So they're going to concentrate and they're going to close down the Stanford running game, which isn't great anyway. And they're really going to try to collapse that pocket on the Stanford quarterback. Stanford's allowing 400 yards a game.
Whew. Wow.
And 401 yards a game they're allowing, and Oregon's averaging 423 a game. So I'm really liking Oregon rolling into Stanford. Stanford's allowing 19.5 points per game, and Stanford's allowing 27.5. Oregon is a running gun team. The West Coast teams always seem to be the running guns.
Yeah.
I just really can't see. Well, the line. Let me see. The line again is
It was 8.
57.5 for the points. Oregon's going to come out pretty quick on this. I think that they're definitely going to cover. It's going to be Oregon. They're going to cover. It's going to be a 2-touchdown game. I think 57.5 is an awful lot of points. These two teams do score a lot of points. They average 63 in the last 5 meetings. Oregon has covered every single game this year as far as the points on the over, and Stanford has covered 3 out of 4 with the teams they played on the over. I'm going to take the over at 57.5, and Oregon's going to roll in. They're going to be 5-0 in this young season.
Now,
Against Stanford. I mean, I just can't see Stanford putting up the fight to beat Oregon. Stanford's not a bad team, don't get me wrong, but their running game is nothing what Oregon's is. Their special teams, every single aspect of the team is just not quite as good as Oregon. So I think Oregon's going to have, as long as they don't look ahead, I think they'll be okay.
all right, so let's say they go into Stanford, they do what you say, they put up a big number, they come out with a win, they're 6-0. 5-0, right?
5-0.
5-0.
Yeah.
Are they in the national championship discussion at that point, or is it too early?
Were they your pick? Dark horse pick?
They were my dark horse.
That's why you're asking this question.
No, really, yeah.
I don't think they're in that talk. Let's get them to 7 or 8.
Okay, no, that's fair. Yep.
The level of competition just isn't quite there for Oregon yet, but we'll see.
Fair enough. All right, moving on. My second spotlight pick in college football is Northwestern on the road to take on the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Huskers are a 10.5 point favorite. The points total is set at 51. Okay, so Northwestern comes into this game 2-2. They're coming off a win off of Ohio University, 35-6. Not the Ohio State. I want to make sure everyone's aware of that. Northwestern has, and Eric hates this term, but I'm going to say it anyways. They've had quarterback by committee this year, and we know what usually happens with that.
Yes.
Nothing good in the long run. So
No.
Hunter Johnson, Andrew Marty, and Ryan Helinski have shared snaps, literally pretty close to the same amount of snaps. Now, Andrew Marty got hurt last week, so they're down to 2 quarterbacks, but they're still going to shuffle these guys in and out. I just don't see how that's going to help them in the long run, but maybe they're trying to figure out who is the number 1 quarterback. But you're 4 or 5, this will be 5 games in, you need to know. And right now, that threesome hasn't done all that well. They're 70 for 70 completions, 118 attempts, 670 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Nothing great. Now their rushing game has been pretty good. 865 yards and 167 carries with 7 touchdowns. So their rushing game is pretty good over there at Northwestern.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's move to one of Eric's favorite teams, Nebraska, because he lived there for many years. So he kind of bleeds corn, believe it or not.
Yes.
So Scott Frost, okay, and his Nebraska team comes off a very, very tough overtime loss to Michigan State. They probably should have won that game, okay? Week or so before, who do they play? Oklahoma, okay? Now, they were a 22-point underdog to Oklahoma. They lost by 7. 2 losses, very tough losses, and they were in each game, Eric.
Yep.
Now, again, there's no moral victory.
They're playing a little higher than was projected, even by us.
Even by us, I'll admit it.
Scott Frost was starting quarterback when I was out there in the mid '90s, and he's a Tom Osborne disciple.
He is.
Along with he split time with Tommy Frazier at one point at quarterback, but Cornhuskers are playing a little bit above their head, I guess you could say.
That's exactly where I was going with this, but they're playing with heart. That's really it's different than it was last year.
Right.
Now. Their shining star so far has been their quarterback, Adrian Martinez. Okay, he's 89 for 153, almost 1,300 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Right.
Their running backs have rushed for almost 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns. So they've got a fairly decent offense. Okay. Now again, they're 2-3, but they're playing better. And Eric, this is Scott. Now you tell me. Okay, this is his 4th year as head coach.
Yeah.
This is officially his team now.
Yes.
Are they buying in because these are all his guys and they're starting to play better? I mean, what do you think?
Well, you have to go back. Let's roll the Cornhusker train back to the '90s, when they were perennial and multi-time champions, national champions, which obviously makes your recruiting class elite.
Correct.
They have several, well, more than several bad years recently.
Many.
Guess what that does? I mean, you're not one of the elite teams, so you have your top 10 prospects in the country in high school. They're not looking at Nebraska.
True.
They're looking at the Clemsons.
Yeah.
They're looking at the Alabamas, the Ohio States.
Yeah.
Places like that. So, what Frosty's doing at Nebraska, with what he has, I commend him. But all it takes is a couple 9 and 10 win seasons. It's not even a national championship, but let's get to 9 and 10, maybe 10 and 2. You know, those kind of seasons, and then your stock goes up. You start getting those prospects, those top 25 prospects from high school. I think that in the next 2 or 3 years, we're really going to see, and I don't even think they're going to be do or die years for Frosty. I think that because Nebraska fans are extremely loyal, they love that one of their own is a coach.
Well, he's a legend there. He's a legend.
They love it.
Yeah.
They love that one of their own. And if you go to Nebraska, and if you're a player, if you're a starter, you don't necessarily need to be a star. You're one of them. You're embroidered in the Cornhusker life. So I think Frost has a few more years before, in my opinion, before it really becomes his team. I'd like I know the analogy. It's your team after 4 years.
Right.
You have a class.
Yeah.
I think for the most part they're buying in, and again, I think they're overachieving a little bit at this point with what the talent they have. But boy, I mean, it was fun to see them in those games.
Oh yeah.
It's like wow. I mean, they showed flashes of brilliance.
They did.
It was just like almost. I squinted my eyes at some of those games. I was like, is that Tom Osborne? No, it's not. So, not quite.
Not quite, but
they are playing a little bit above their head, but boy, they have a good confidence building.
They're enjoyable to watch at this point.
They have a confidence
right?
building opponent this weekend.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's get to my pick. So last year, one of Northwestern's wins was against Nebraska. Okay.
Yeah.
Now Nebraska should have won the game. They dominated the game. They had 28 first downs. Northwestern had 14. Okay. They led them in passing. They led them in everything. Every stat, time of possession, but there was timely, or let me say untimely turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Going in for a score on the 8-yard line, interception. At the 25-yard line, going in for another score, intercept, and that just kind of ruined their whole day.
Has killed Nebraska in the last couple of years.
Oh yeah. They also missed the field. I mean, there was just things that you go, wait a minute, you should have won the game. So the way that Nebraska's been playing this year, and this is kind of a payback game, and it's also homecoming. And so I think the fans have a little bit of pride this year. I like Nebraska -10, believe it or not, at home, and I like the over. So
What's the total
51.
points?
I'm sorry, 51 is the
51.
points total. So take Nebraska -10
That's a good bet.
and the over 51. So
I agree with both. That's definitely a good assessment. Because it doesn't matter. If you go to Lincoln, Nebraska, you go to Cornhusker Stadium, and you look, it's going to be just a ton of fans, whether they're 1-10 or 10-1.
True.
Nebraska fans, and it's not that there's nothing else to do out there.
Yeah.
You can always watch the Chrome Grow.
That's wicked
I'm just kidding,
exciting.
Nebraska fans.
Yeah,
But,
we love Nebraska.
Yes.
He lived there for many years.
They lived there
seriously.
for 10 years,
So-
and they are one of a kind for sure.
All right, so let's move. Hopefully those picks help you in college football. We're going to move on to the NFL.
Yep.
And first game we're going to look at, Eric's going to break it down first. The Jacksonville Jaguars on the road to take on the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals are favored by 7.5. Points total set at 45. And this is Thursday night football. So Eric, what are you seeing?
Well, first off, I mean, you can't ignore the 400-pound elephant in the room, and that is the 0-3 Jaguars with a perennial winning college quarterback and a perennial winning college coach.
Yeah.
I would venture to guess, without looking at stats, that neither one of them have ever gone on a 4-game losing streak.
I would guess no. Right.
So this is actually going to be a really good test for Jacksonville. Test their mettle, as they say,
Yeah.
because they're going to go into Cincinnati. Cincinnati pulled off. I mean, they made last week's game versus Pittsburgh, where they won 24-10, made it seem easy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a Pittsburgh team who rolled into Buffalo and beat the team week 1 pretty handily. I mean, they allowed some points in the second half. Actually, they scored all the points in the second half in the fourth quarter. Did Pittsburgh look bad? Is Cincinnati better? Burrow's definitely back from his injury from last year.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because this is a matchup of the last 2 number 1 draft picks.
That's right.
You have Lawrence, big kid, 6'6", 220, and you have Burrow, 6'4", 230. Both cannons for arms. Lawrence probably, I'll go on a limb and say in the last 10 years he's probably the most heralded quarterback. He would have been number 1 pick last year.
I agree.
If he chose to come out.
If he
from
chose
Clemson.
to come out, yeah.
Um,
Now, mind you, he'd still be a senior in
right.
college.
He's
right?
21 years old.
Yeah, he's still a young kid.
Right, so he's still learning. But Urban
Yeah.
Meyer, this is really going to. I'm so interested to watch his mannerisms during the game. I don't think they have a shot anywhere close to competing with Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very interested. And oh, by the way, this is an unpaid plug. I did accidentally purchase the NFL Sunday ticket.
Oh, that's okay. You can play because we want sponsors.
Well,
the
we
NFL is
do,
listening,
but
right? Okay.
You can, I didn't realize how much money it was. And it's just one of those. I'm going to have a 7-day trial, and I'm not going to cancel my subscription because I forgot.
If you follow the 7 and a Hook podcast
yes.
picks, it's free.
That's absolutely
Okay.
correct.
So, but yeah. Anyway.
So Jacksonville rolls into Cincinnati. Again, Cincinnati's rolling off a huge victory against Pittsburgh, one of their rivals. And Jacksonville's 0-3. Man, where do those coach and quarterback go when they end up 0-4?
Oof.
Now we do know, and everybody expects it. I mean, the Jaguars on the receiving core, they're not very deep.
No.
You have DJ Clark and you have Marvin Jones, Marvin Jones has some history in the NFL.
Yeah.
Dan Arnold. So you have a lot of no-namers, as they say,
Right.
in your receiving core for Lawrence to throw to. Now Lawrence is used to playing on an elite team.
Studs.
Clemson,
Right.
former national
Yeah.
champion.
Yeah.
I mean, and Urban Meyer, of course, everybody knows Urban Meyer's coaching career. He's a multi-time champion. He doesn't lose ever.
No.
So they're going to roll in. Burrow, I mean, Joe Mixon in the backfield. Does Jacksonville have any answer for Joe Mixon? I don't think he's going to have 150 yards, but I think he's going to keep it interesting, and he's going to make the Jacksonville D-line respect the run, which is going to give Burrow some more time. So why don't you expound on that a little bit? I will say that Lawrence this year, and this is a surprising stat, he holds a slight edge in overall passing yards to Burrow, 669 to 640.
Yeah.
But Burrow has been much more efficient. Lawrence has 5 TDs and 7 interceptions.
Right, that's never good.
So
You're
obviously
underwater, right?
he's finding the NFL just a bit faster and bigger and stronger, I think, than even he anticipated.
Oh yeah.
And Burrow, of course, Burrow is second year. He is coming off an injury. He did play 10 games last year. But I think as he gets more comfortable, Cincinnati gets better.
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you. So, all right. So yeah, Jaguar, they're 0-3. Last week, they kind of gave the game away. They literally had a 19-10 lead.
It was hard to watch.
It was hard to watch. I mean, okay, they're going in. I think it was the first drive of the game. They were in the red zone. Deflection off the tight end gets intercepted. That's the end of that drive.
Yeah.
Couple drives later, or later in the game, they try this flea flicker thing, where Trevor Lawrence throws off his back foot, pick six. They also had a 109-yard kick return for a touchdown. Those things don't, like, those three things happen in one game. You wouldn't think of it,
well,
right?
When I saw that play, it screamed in my ear a college football.
It did, absolutely.
And I'm like, it makes sense. I mean, you have a college football coach, and we've known over the years. I mean, there have been a select few college coaches that have made a huge impact and success. Jimmy Johnson for the Cowboys, won 2 Super Bowls. Barry Switzer, former Oklahoma Sooner coach, he lucked into a Super Bowl somehow with Dallas.
Pete Carroll.
Carroll, I mean, he's won a Super Bowl with the Seahawks. He had many successful years with the Pats. But there's also been a lot of failures. Nick Saban, he didn't last too long.
No.
And there's been several others. So, obviously we're not going to judge Urban Meyer with
in 3 games.
Yeah, you can't do that.
No.
But it's going to be very interesting to see the demeanor in the press conference. If they lose, if they win, it's a whole
different discussion, right?
But I just don't see them rolling into Cincinnati. And actually, I don't even see them competing. I think Cincinnati and Trevor Lawrence has to watch out. He in the first 3 games, 1 sack. He was sacked 3 times last week.
Those add up.
Well, that's a way to make a 21-year-old quarterback 31 years old in a year.
That's right.
Again, not used to sacks. He's not used to any sort of adversity. So how he reacts, they don't have the running game is suspect. So it's kind of like Lawrence is a one-man show, so to speak, right now. And I know it takes a team, but they really need to step up their play because they have to protect, because he is the franchise quarterback. And we don't want him like a Sam Darnold franchise quarterback.
No, because
Lawrence is, like I said earlier, is one of the most heralded quarterbacks I've ever seen come out of college football.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Everybody's number one for a couple of years in a row doesn't happen by accident.
No.
We'll see. I mean, I think that Jaguars definitely have their work cut out for them.
All right, so as far as where we're leaning, okay, I'm with Eric. I think the Bengals, they kind of roll here. This is Thursday Night Thunder. I think national TV. I think they're going to put on quite a show. And Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence. This will be the second time they've matched up. The last time was when Burrow was at LSU and Clemson was the national championship game. Burrow won that game 42-25 or 27.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have another win for Burrow here, and not because he's better than Lawrence. I just think he's on a better team. So I like and I actually, when you mentioned a college play, that flea flicker, I think
it just screamed to me like, okay.
And a little bit of desperation too. So
I
think Urban Myers is going to throw the kitchen sink, the top. He's going to throw everything out there on Thursday night to try to get a win. It's still not going to be enough. I like the Bengals to cover the 7 and a hook. And I like the over 45. I just think there's going to be a lot of points here because Urban Meyer is going to go for 4th downs, 4th and 1, 4th and 10. He's going to do trick punts, this, that. So look for a lot of points and look for the Bengals to cover that 7 and a hook. What do you think?
I agree with your picks. I agree with all of them. The only caveat I'll say is that if Jacksonville can somehow get James Robinson more touches in the backfield.
Yeah.
He had 15 carries last week, 88 yards. Could he be a difference maker? He's not a difference maker kind of running back, but boy, if he comes out strong and he gets a couple 6-7 yard gains right out the box, that's going to allow Lawrence maybe a half a second more.
That's a big deal.
Make another read possibly.
Yeah.
So, and the backup is Carlos Hyde. He's a 1,000-yard rusher in the NFL. He's on the older side. He's almost 30 years old, I believe. Which is ancient in running back terms.
It's crazy.
If they give Robinson a few more touches, I'd like to see Robinson at 18 to 22 touches. If he can be around 100 yards, again, I don't think they are going to win, but it might give the team or Lawrence a little bit more time to make a decision, make another read possibly, maybe see a tight end down the middle or You know,
I just think it's going to be a fun game to watch.
I think
You're right.
So you picked the over?
I took the over
Yeah.
and the Bengals.
Well, I'm actually going to disagree with you on the over.
You going the under?
I have to go under just
Yep.
because I don't see the capability of Jacksonville scoring a ton of points.
You could be right. You could be right.
Cincinnati, I could see 24 to 28 from Cincinnati, but I have a tough time getting past 14 to 15, 14, 15, 16 in that range points for Jacksonville. They're just not there yet.
No, they're not. They got to lose a lot more games before they learn how to win. That's
Yeah.
for sure, and that's going to be tough for Trevor Lawrence.
Absolutely.
But, all right, so let's move on. I'm up next. I'm going to give
right.
my first spotlight NFL game, and it is the Tennessee Titans on the road, -7.5 at the New York Jets, the lowly New York Jets. So Tennessee 2-1. Their home opener, they got crushed by the Arizona Cardinals, and you and I were both kind of dumbfounded. But
I didn't understand that. I still don't understand that game. I tried to break it down
Yeah.
on film, and I come up. How do you lay an egg at home
and they laid a big egg.
when you were so strong last year?
Yeah. So maybe again, maybe that was a fourth preseason game, like we said about Green Bay.
Yeah, maybe.
But they were terrible.
Yeah.
But they've turned around 2 bounce backs wins, if you want to call it. Overtime against Seattle, and then a nice win this past weekend against the Colts. Ryan Tannehill still really hasn't got it rolling yet. He's 750 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, only a 56.5 quarterback rating. So he's still got it feeling his way. Now Derrick Henry is still being Derrick Henry. He's got 800 and what is it? 800 and where did I go? 80 carries, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, all league leading or tying for the league.
Yeah.
So he's still Derrick Henry. Give him the ball. Give him the ball.
He is Derrick Henry for sure.
He is. The Jets 0-3. And you can't say, well, they could be 2-1. They could be they're 0-3 because they should be 0-3.
Mm-hmm.
3 games, scored 14 points, 6 and 0. They got shut out last week by the Broncos. That's hard to do in the NFL. Now, if there's a way they could score negative points, they might do that this week. I don't know if that's possible.
That's next.
But they could. Their rushing, their defense has let up 112 yards rushing, 120 yards rushing, 110 yards. This is going to be a feast for Derrick Henry this week. So look for him to go way over 100 yards rushing. If you can find that prop bet, take it. Zack Wilson. He is a rookie quarterback, right? He is showing it. Okay. Now you said it from the beginning of the season. If they don't give him the weapons and they don't protect him, he is really going to look like a rookie. You were right.
Well,
okay. You know how many times he's been sacked so far this year? 15. 15. Now he's been hurried another
probably
10.
more than his entire college career.
Correct. So he's thrown 2 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and he's been sacked 15 times. Not a good recipe. So again, I think it's going to be another long day for the Jets, even at home. You think, okay, they get a little pride, they're back at home, the Fenton Noop.
Yeah, no.
This is a good spot, a prime spot for the Titans to layeth the smacketh down.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the Titans to cover that 7.5. I'm going to play the under 47. I just don't see the Jets scoring a lot of points, Eric. I mean, this could be a 35 to 7 kind of game. So I'm going with the under 47, but I'm taking the Titans to cover that 7.5.
I think if Henry gets 10 touches in the first period or in the first quarter, and he's off for 30, 40, 50 yards. If he's averaging 4 or 5 yards a carry, they're just going to feed him because he is the perennial workhorse in the NFL. That guy is good for 25 to 30 touches a game, game after game, and that's because the dedication in the gym. He's 6'2", 235 pounds, 0% body fat.
Yeah.
The guy is a legitimate workhorse, and I like Ryan Tannehill. Okay. I don't like this year's version of Ryan Tannehill so far.
So far, I agree. I
like last year's version a lot better than the year before when he was a Pro Bowler.
Yep.
But we're gonna see. I mean, again, this could be a confidence-building game for Tennessee. And that's the way I think a lot of people look at the Jets.
Yeah. get everybody healthy.
So yeah,
try
I
some
agree
tricks, right?
on both of them. I think the Jets are going to have a tough time scoring because they just, frankly, they do.
Yeah, they do.
So I agree with you on you took the under, correct?
I took the under. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to turn my attention to Indianapolis Colts visiting the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins are a 2-point favorite. Oh boy, what can we say about the Dolphins? They've scored 38 points this entire year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The defense, which was supposed to be improved year after year, Brian Flores is defensive coach. You know, the players love this guy. They bought into his system. Well, they are one of the league's worst, okay? Allowing 27.3 points a game, which is 23rd in the NFL. They're allowing 4.3 yards per rush. Oof. And they have a sack percentage of a almost league low 4.17%. Now these stats, while both being at the bottom of the league, they were projected to be one of the better defenses in the league.
Yeah.
So what do they have? They have Indianapolis Colts coming. So what's the good news for the Dolphins? The good news is they're hosting an Indy team that's coming on with an 0-3 record. Now they have Carson Wentz, picked up from Philadelphia. The guy's got 2 bum ankles already.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if it's a paper tiger effect with Carson Wentz or what the deal is, because if you look at him on paper and you look at him in real life, he's a big dude.
He is.
Okay.
He is. He's legit.
He's a Carson Palmer type of dude.
Yeah.
But boy, has he been hampered by the injury bug. He tried to play through it last week, obviously injured.
Yeah. No. They have a lemon law down there that they can send him back. Or
It's crazy.
They
Now,
spent a lot of money, didn't they, to get him?
He denied. They did. He denied that he was injured.
Yeah.
For the most part. But you know what? So what that tells me now, I think Miami is going to get the defense right this weekend, and I think knowing that Wentz is hampered, he's slow in the pocket.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
he is.
definitely slow in the pocket anyway.
Oh yeah.
With 2 good ankles.
Yeah.
He's a pocket passer. I
Yeah.
mean, he's not going to rush. He's not a,
He can't anymore.
He's a very, very, very old late 20s guy.
Yeah. True.
So they're gonna come with blitz packages. They're gonna come with all kinds of pressure. They're gonna bring 7. You know, they're gonna let their cornerbacks and safeties do their jobs. A lot of single coverage. They'll have a free safety roaming around. I think that you're gonna see Wentz hit the turf many, many, many times during the game.
Yes.
Now, let me see here. I'm taking Miami.
All right.
Okay, and I'm gonna take the over on the points.
Really? Okay. All right.
And I think, let me see what the point. Yeah, points is 43.5. I think you're going to see, because Miami, what a valiant effort last week.
Yeah.
Okay.
They should have won that game.
They should have won
really
that game
yeah.
against Vegas.
Yep.
And they should have won that game, and they shouldn't have even been in it.
I agree. I agree.
Now, of course, Tua is injured. He's going to be out for at least 2 more games.
Yeah.
After this week.
Yep.
So you have Jacoby Brissett, who actually has quite a bit of. He's got past experience. He has Indianapolis experience.
Oh yeah.
Of course, it's a whole new coaching regime and everything in Indianapolis, so you can't really use that knowledge. But this is how I mentioned it last week. I was talking to one of our insiders. I said Jacoby Brissett is a serviceable quarterback, and he's not going to knock your socks off with 450 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 on the ground.
Right.
But he's not. He's also, for the most part, usually protects your ball. Okay, he's going to get you 16 out of 25, 215. Touchdown in the air, touchdown on the ground. Yep. He's got wheels.
And he can run. He's a mobile quarterback.
He definitely can run. I like Miami to put some points up. Indianapolis is going to lay an egg. They're going to be 0-4. They're going to have to regroup following next week. I think Miami gets a little bit back on track. I still do say, even with Tua being, again, he has kind of the Carson Wentz deal of always being injured.
Yeah.
The injury bug has hit him already. He's been on the IR twice in his 2 years already.
Yeah. It's 2 times too many.
It's still Tua's team.
Oh, it is.
They're not going to go after Deshaun Watson because of obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So it's really Tua's team, and Brian Flores is going to coach his way through Brissett, who again is a serviceable quarterback.
Yeah, he is.
And I think that they're easily going to cover the 2. I mean that's a gimme.
Yeah.
That and they're going to take the over.
You're going to take the over. Okay. Gotcha.
2 in the over.
Gotcha. All right. I'm going to move on to my next spotlight game, and it is the Washington No Names on the road, a -1 favorite, -1 favorite on the road, I may mention, at the Atlanta Falcons. Okay, so all right, so Washington, they're 1-2. All right, they got destroyed, absolutely destroyed by the Bills last week, 43-21. That's the only way.
It wasn't even that close.
It wasn't even that close. Okay, now go back a week or so. They had a very good division win over Eric's G-men, the New York Giants. They beat them 30-29, and they beat them with a field goal with time expiring.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's going to be a common theme here. I'm going to get there in a minute, but and then they lost to the Chargers 20-16. So now Taylor Heineken, I like to call him, has kind of come.
Yes, you do.
I do. It's just easier, and I like Heineken, but
Yes.
that's sponsorship. Anyways, let's get back to talk here. He's kind of come back down to earth, right? I mean, he was everybody's new shiny object.
Well, he was a second stringer in the XFL. So
Right. Okay. So
It wasn't even a starter.
He wasn't even a starter. So
debacle.
he beat the G-men. He's wonderful, but okay, what people forget is he's a backup quarterback. He's been in and out of the
At
league
best.
since 2015.
Right.
He's participated in 8 games prior to now starting, okay? And in those 8 games, he threw 68 passes, completed 48 of them, and threw 390 yards. He is a bona fide backup. Now, in college, he was a superstar. Old Dominion. He threw for almost 15,000 yards in college, 130 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. Old Dominion is not the NFL. Now, I don't dislike Taylor Heineken. I kind of think his name is cool. And he's making money as a backup. Nothing wrong with that, okay? But he's not going to lead the Washington No Names very far. No. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's got a few more. They're not sure how many weeks he's going to be out with the hip injury, but they need him to come back, Eric, okay? So that being said, let's look at the Falcons, okay? Last week, big win, again, over the G-men. Field goal with time expiring. You see kind of a recurring theme here with the Giants. But they didn't look that good either, okay? Matt Ryan hasn't been the Matt Ryan that we know. He's thrown for about 700 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Calvin Ridley, only 20 receptions, 175 yards, 1 touchdown. He's averaging 8 yards a reception. Last year, he averaged almost 16 yards a reception. So their offense is not clicking. Can you say missing Julio Jones much? Yeah, okay. Kyle Pitts, they drafted him in the top 10 last year's draft. Stud tight end. They've only thrown him the ball 11 times. What are you doing, Atlanta? This guy is like Gronk and Carson, bigger and stronger, and they're not using him. But anyways, we'll see. Falcons, last 8 times they've played Washington, they beat them 7. 6 in a row, matter of fact.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good spot, the Falcons at home, to get things right. I like them getting a point at home. I think that's a super value bet. So I like the Falcons. The last 3 times these teams have played, 54 points, 44 points, 57 points combined. Look for a lot of points here. I like the Falcons, and I like the over 48.5.
I would agree with that. Seems legit. Okay, well, this show would not be one of our shows without me.
Was that a good segue for your next spotlight game?
Yeah, you mentioned the Giants
a couple times.
I think.
Yeah,
But,
okay.
They're traveling to the Big Easy, New Orleans, to battle the Saints, who are going to play their first home game in a while because of the storms.
That's right.
The Superdome is back in action.
That's good to see, by the way.
That is, Saints are rolling at home. Giants are going to come in a 7.5 point underdog, 7.5 hook for the New Orleans Saints as a favorite. I have so many things. This is a huge recipe for disaster. This next thing I'm about to say for the Giants. 4th game in for the 2021-22 season, and the Giants are starting their 4th offensive line combination.
So I didn't know that.
So there's no consistency with the Giants.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow. You said this
Yeah.
opening show. You talked about this with the Giants.
I'm telling you, the consistency is not there. Now, I did like, a couple years ago, they hired Jason Garrett.
Yep.
Offensive coordinator, former Dallas Cowboy
Right.
quarterback, backup quarterback, starting quarterback, former head coach. Because Garrett is an offensive-minded coach, and we needed that in New York. Well, I can tell you what, he's on a hot seat. And he's on the extreme hot seat because Giants, under Garrett, are 22 for 50 in the red zone.
Wow.
22 for 50 in the red zone.
That's ugly.
That's very ugly. Now, some good things. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this.
Yeah, go ahead.
This
is your team. Come on.
Saquon Barkley showed a little bit of flashes last week.
He did. Yeah.
Okay. He's still rehabbing the torn MCL and ACL last year, devastating knee injury. Worked his way back. He's not 100%. Looking at him playing, you're looking at an 85 to 90% guy, and he would probably tell you he's 75, 80% because he's Saquon Barkley and he's a legit elite running back. Now, how do you make holes for your elite running back when you have no consistency in your offensive line?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they're going to face New Orleans, who's the fourth best defense in the league.
That's a big ask.
So it's going to be a huge test for Joe Judge's crew.
Yeah.
A crew that's averaging 18 points a game. 18 points a game versus New Orleans. I don't care if you have Drew Brees or not. Can still score.
Yeah, they can.
I still can get that 22 out of 50 out of the red zone out of my mind.
That's a tough stat.
So last week, the Giants, of course, just a loss, but a really tough loss.
That was a tough loss, yeah.
And in the beginning of the game, they lost the heart and soul of their defense.
Mm-hmm.
Blake Martinez went down, was down on the ground for quite a while. He is the heart and soul linebacker of the Giants. As Blake Martinez goes, the Giants defense goes.
Yeah.
Come to find out, has an MRI next morning, torn ACL, which is such a prevalent injury in the NFL. Obviously, because of how fast the game is, how tight the turf is.
Yeah.
And even the natural grass, it's not, the pounding on these knees, the cuts. Blake Martinez is a superior athlete. He would be the heart and soul on many defenses in the NFL.
Without a doubt.
So now the Giants, who were decimated in virtually every aspect of their team, they're not a good team.
No.
And I hate to say that because I've been a Giants fan for 40 years.
Yeah.
They're not a good team right now. Do they have listen, they're trying out Isaiah Wilson. Do you know who that is?
Nobody does, other than
Isaiah Wilson
his mother and father,
was a
right?
bust. I believe he was drafted by Tennessee Titans, I think.
Yeah.
A complete bust.
Yeah.
Has been in and out of trouble with the law, has a DUI, got arrested in January, and he tweeted, because that's what everybody does now.
Yes.
They tweet, "I am no longer a member of Tennessee." Now, Tennessee didn't cut him. So Tennessee the next day says, okay, and they cut him.
And they cut him, right.
Now he's had a come to Jesus moment,
Of course.
evidently.
Of course.
The Giants are trying him out.
Yeah.
He's an offensive tackle. Why are they trying him out? Because of the first thing I said about they're starting their fourth. They lack consistency.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think Joe Judge, and we talked about this last week in their loss and the week before, I don't think he's on the hot seat yet. But as a Giants fan,
It's getting warm though, right?
we're getting a little uptight.
Yeah.
Um,
There you go.
For one, we're not scoring points.
Yeah.
18 a game.
Yeah. That's,
Okay. New Orleans lets up 14 a game. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's the Blake Martinez, in my opinion, is actually even a tougher loss than the inconsistency of the offensive line.
Yeah.
I just don't see the Giants going into New Orleans. It would be a major upset in my mind, even though it's only 7 and a hook favorite. New Orleans, I think it's going to be a much bigger victory for New Orleans. It's tough for me to say that week in week, but we try to keep it real on 7 and a hook.
Yeah.
So because there's
But with
you have
your heart,
potential money,
do it with your head, not your heart. You say
right,
it all the
we-
time.
We don't play emotions. Of course, I love the Giants. I'll
Yeah.
always love the Giants. I'm not a bandwagon fan. I'll love them. They're gonna go 3-14 this year, probably, maybe.
Oof.
But
That'd be ugly.
well, it's gonna get ugly. I mean, this is a game by all stretches the Giants should compete for a win in.
Yeah.
All things being said.
All things. Yeah. If
you know, and again, Daniel Jones played pretty good last week.
he did.
He had a good. I mean, you know, they lost a heartbreak.
He didn't play bad against the
bad.
former Redskins. You know.
But he has. You know, he's going to have Evan Ingram this week.
Yeah.
But again, in Ingram, it's just going to be very tough for the Giants. They're going to have Galladay, but so what's going to happen is Lattimore, another former #1 pick in the defensive corps for St. Louis, he's going to camp out on Kenny Galladay.
Oh yeah.
Because Galladay is the #1 weapon.
Try to neuter him, right?
I think Darius Slayton's going to be out for the Giants, so they're going to camp out definitely on Galladay. Ingram could go maybe some hooks in the middle. Maybe you know they might get some yards that way, kind of like how Brady uses Gronk and stuff like that. But listen, I mean, Giants first of all need to protect Daniel Jones.
They do.
They need to create some holes. I don't know how they're going to do it, whether they run an I formation, how they're going to do it to create holes for Saquon Barkley. But if New Orleans can shut Barkley down in the first half of the game, it's going to be a long game for the
Very
football
long game.
Giants. So I'm definitely taking the Saints. And I'm going to take the over.
Oh, over. Okay.
The over is 43.5. I think the Saints, you know, and it doesn't matter who's quarterback for the Saints. I mean, it's going to be Winston, obviously, Jameis Winston, part of the 30-30 club, the elusive 30 touchdown, 30 interception club for the last team he played for, the Bucs. But look for Winston. Of course, he had 14 completions in Week 1 with 5 being touchdowns. He's not going to have that kind of game, I don't think.
No, I don't think. Yeah.
And he hasn't since.
No.
But Giants, you know, my opinion, I'm looking at a 31-13 type of deal. You know, a 31, maybe a 17. Maybe the Giants get off and get 21 points. Who knows? By accident.
So you like the over or the under?
I like the over.
Oh, you like the over. I got you. Okay. Yep.
And I like the Saints.
All right. Good analysis. Okay. My next.
It's tough.
It is a
The
tough.
football Giants are not a good team.
Right, and listen, bet with your head, not your heart. You're doing that. So, all right, I'm going to look at the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road to take on the Cheesies, the Packers. All right, the Packers are favored by 6.5. Points total set at 48. All right, Pittsburgh 1-2 on the season. You know what? They started the season, like Eric said earlier, with a big win on the road, as I like to say, at Buffalo. But they're starting to look like the team that we kind of thought they would look like at the beginning of the year. They got manhandled. Eric said it right. Manhandled by the Bengals, 24-10. The game wasn't even that close. Okay, it wasn't even that close. And then they also lost to the Raiders. So 1-2, 1 at Buffalo, 2 losses, Raiders and the Bengals. Ben has been beaten up, to say it lightly or nicely, in the first 3 games, and he's starting to show his age. These hits they add up after a while. He's almost 40 years old.
He's taken so many hits.
He's taken a beating.
He's lucky he's 6'5"
and about 260.
Yeah.
Right, and he wears that bulletproof vest thing, whatever he's got going on. 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's got a 79 quarterback rating. That's not the Pro Bowler, Super Bowl winning quarterback that we all know. The Father Time, I think, has finally caught up to Big Ben. Now, so basically, Steelers trending the wrong way. Packers, on the other hand, the Cheesies, they're headed in a totally different trajectory, and it's a good one. Okay, they started the season, they got trounced by New Orleans, 38-3, and we both joked that was their 4th preseason game.
Yeah.
Well, they've turned it around since then. Okay, 2 straight wins. They beat Detroit, and then a walk-off win the other night against the 49ers. And field goal, great comeback. Everything about it. It was truly Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers.
No,
okay?
he looked in form.
He did.
Sure.
He looked like the MVP winner from.
Much different than the distraction he looked like.
Totally different. First game, he had 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. The next 3 games, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, and guess what? They're winning games. So, and his go-to guy, Devontae Adams, has been a monster last 2 games. He's had 12 receptions for 132 yards and a touchdown, and the other game 8 receptions for 121 yards. So get him the ball. You know what I mean? That's really what Aaron Rodgers needs to do. So now, do we really expect the Steelers, who are banged up, really banged up, and I kind of feel bad for Mike Tomlin. He's a good coach, But right, he's kind of, and I haven't said this in a while, but he's kind of playing with a bag of donuts right now. Really banged up team. We expect them to now go on the road to Lambeau Field and step up against the Packers. I don't see it happening. And maybe it's time. I don't know, but is it time for the Pittsburgh Steelers to look maybe towards the Mason Rudolph era? You know what I mean? Is it time to get the other quarterback involved? I don't know. Maybe it's not this game, but Eric, after this, on deck, they've got the Broncos, they've got the Seahawks, and they've got the Browns. Yeah. The Steelers got a rough road ahead of them.
They do.
Here. So
they have the toughest schedule in the NFL.
They do, and it's coming. Yeah. So I really don't see Pittsburgh keeping this game close. So I'm going to take the Cheesies. I'm taking the Packers, -6 and a hook. And I like the over. All right, I like the over 48 here. So Green Bay, -6 and a hook, and the over 48 at Lambeau.
I agree with that assessment, except I'm going to take the under.
You're going to go under. Okay.
48's an awful big number to me. For, again, Pittsburgh, they had a great game or two, but they're going to find it a little bit hard to score at Lambeau. All right, I'm going to cover the Houston Texans driving all the way up. They're all packing into one van, which is awful weird. I guess times are tough. Money's, the cost of gas is high.
Listen.
They're going to go all the way up to Buffalo to battle the Buffalo Bills, who the last 2 weeks are looking like the AFC champion / Super Bowl contending
I think
team.
You might have picked them.
78 points in the last 2 weeks they've scored.
I think you did.
They drubbed Miami 35-0, which was a surprise to a lot of people at Miami.
At Miami, too.
Last week, Josh Allen accounts for 4 touchdowns in the air, 1 on the ground. They beat the Washington Football Club 43-21. It was over at halftime. It was 27-14 at half. They added 9 points in the third, just to give me a touchdown in the fourth. Allen last week, 32 for 43, 358, 4 touchdowns, no picks, a 129 QB rating, and that was against a better defense than he's going to face at home this week. Now, it's the biggest spread we have in the NFL this week. It's 16.5.
Very rare do you see anything over 14.
16 and a hook means you have a great team playing a not so great team.
Yeah.
And everybody knows it. Now, Houston, of course, they played a little bit above their head week 1. They've come back down to earth.
Yeah, they have.
And the total points for the game is 49. I don't see anybody stopping Allen. Moss got 60. They had 123 yards rushing last week against Washington, which has with Chase Young on defense, has a much better run containment than Houston.
Yeah.
You could see Zach Moss with a 100-yard game. He had 13 touches for 60 yards last week. And, of course, the receiving core with Beasley leading the way last week with 98 yards with 11 receptions. Look for Beasley. Sanders, the guy he's got to be 72 years old by now, but
he still shows up, doesn't he?
8 receptions, 94 yards last week.
Yeah.
You had receptions by 9 different receivers last week for Buffalo. So that's called spreading the offense out. Okay?
Yeah, I would say so.
They're at home. You're going to have the Buffalo Crazies out there. The Bills are going to take this game very easily. It's going to be another game where you can say it's virtually over at halftime, barring any injuries, of course.
Of course.
They're going to cover the 16.5.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm going to go on the over, which is set at 49.
Ooh.
You're going to see Josh Allen make a lot of fantasy owners happy this week again.
Yep.
He happens to be my guy.
So, got a little skin in the game.
I wouldn't be surprised to see similar numbers that he had last week. Maybe not 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But he's going to have 3 in the air, 1 on the ground, or 4 in the air, none on the ground. He's going to have a great rating. He's going to get time in the pocket to think. They don't have a monster like Chase Young to worry about. Houston, I really think, Houston's got so many problems we've talked about. Not a lot of people, when this particular thing happened in the offseason, a lot of people were like, they lost J.J. Watt. Well, J.J. Watt's on the end of his career. J.J. Watt was the emotional guy for the Houston Texans. Yeah. He was the hype guy in the locker room.
He was.
He was the consummate professional on and off the field.
Cheerleader on and off the field, right?
Houston Texans.
He was.
When you thought Texans,
He
you didn't
did.
think of Deshaun Watson.
No.
You didn't think of all those guys. You thought of J.J. Watt.
Yeah.
They don't have him anymore. He's with Arizona.
Yeah.
What has he lost a step? Sure, but he makes up for that for the cohesiveness that he kept the team.
Arizona's playing some
Houston-
good football, by the way.
Houston is going to
Right?
have a very, very rough weekend.
It's a long day.
And, oh my God,
Long
it's
day.
going to be terrible.
Now we don't always talk about the money lines, but
Yeah.
obviously there's money line on this
Sure.
too. This is the biggest money line on the board I've seen in a long
Yeah,
time.
It's
The
incredible.
Bills are a minus
Oh, my
$1,600 favorite to win this game, and the Texans are plus 900. I mean, when did you ever see that?
I almost feel like betting the Texans.
Just because, right?
Just because.
Because of the
I mean,
value. But
say Allen goes down, you never know. I mean, injuries
Man.
can
I
change
just
the course of a game in a millisecond.
I
So,
just can't see putting any money on the Texans at this point. You know what I mean?
minus
So
1,600.
whew, wow. Anyways, all right. So
These lines are like the number one team in college playing a
that's
D3 team.
They'll be like Alabama playing UMass.
Yeah, it's
right.
like, what?
Something.
1,600.
Wow. So all right. So maybe we should bet the Texans. Is what you're saying, right?
Maybe, I don't know.
No, I
No, I'm going to take the over, and Buffalo's easily going to cover the 16.5.
All right. So we're gonna now move on to the Monday night clash, and we're each gonna break this game down. And it is the Las Vegas Raiders on the road to take on the LA Chargers. They're a 3.5 point favorite, and the total is set at 52. All right, Raiders come in 3-0. Yes, the Raiders are 3-0. Okay, they beat the Ravens in overtime. They beat the Steelers, and they beat the Dolphins in overtime last week. So
Right.
3 exciting games, and 3 games that they earned. They didn't back into either game. They played
Absolutely.
well. Okay. Now Derek Carr, I think he found a DeLorean because he's kind of gone that Back to the Future thing, and he's playing like he did in 2016, where he was a Pro Bowler and a potential MVP, where he took the Raiders to the 12-3 record. That year he threw for 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, and he only threw 6 interceptions. Pro Bowler. So far this year, Eric, in 3 games, 1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 65% completion percentage, and 101 quarterback rating.
Right. And
That's amazing.
They were actually better. His numbers are better the first 2 games. Last week,
Right.
he had a great game. He had 386 yards last week.
Yep.
But he also he was 26 for 43, which the completion ratio was around 60% or so.
Right.
That's not fantastic. He had a pick, 2 touchdowns. But you're right. And the most important part of the Vegas is that John Gruden's happy.
He is smiling.
He doesn't look like
Right.
Chucky. But they have found a running game. Peyton Barber.
Yes.
I mean,
There's a little bit of balance.
Jacobs is hurt.
Yep.
Josh Jacobs. They bring in Barber, 111 yards. They bring in Kenyon Drake. He's a transplant from Miami. He shows them, he only had 8 touches for 24 yards, but still, Kenyon Drake is quick. He's a slasher.
Yep.
But Peyton Barber has found a new life in Las Vegas.
True.
Of course, it's unfortunately at the hand of Josh Jacobs, who's a elite running back being injured. But
When you get an
Derek Carr-
opportunity, you take it, and he has.
That's
right?
absolutely correct. And what can you say about Derek Carr? I've always liked Derek Carr. He hasn't had. I thought it was a huge mistake a couple years ago when they were then the Los Angeles Raiders, when they let Amari Cooper go to Dallas.
Yeah, that
And I
was.
still think it's a issue.
Yeah.
As Cooper's proving his worth in Dallas.
He is. He
Derek
is.
Carr would love to have Amari Cooper running.
Who wouldn't?
I mean, it's
Right.
like.
That was
But-
that general manager should have been fired that next day. But
But
that's
they do
another.
have Edwards. They do have Ruggs. They do have Renfro at tight end. Renfro at wide receiver. Darren Waller, who's one of the
Waller's a
up and coming
stud.
best tight ends.
Yeah.
He's top 5 in the league already
he
in
is.
his second year.
Yep.
He's big. He reminds me of Kellen Winslow, maybe a Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah. Yep.
Big, strong guy. And Carr completed passes to 9 receivers again, same as Josh Allen for the Bills last week.
Sharing that rock. You know.
And on defense, they're stepping up. They're really playing John Gruden type of football. So it's gonna be interesting to see if they get to Justin Herbert.
Yeah. No, I agree. So one more thing about Derek Carr. He right now, Eric, he's a live play for MVP. All right, now he's
Yeah.
plus 2,000 to win the MVP. I think that's a live play right now. Now he may come back down to earth, but I think that's worth a few pennies.
He has the tools.
He has the tools. Now you mentioned Justin Herbert, okay? Last week, 281 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Absolutely outplayed Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
That was a signature win for the
Absolutely,
Chargers, right?
Absolutely, yep.
Without a doubt. That was at KC.
Nobody expected them to even. I mean, they expected the game to be somewhat
Right.
close, maybe, but not really.
They didn't see that result.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, he's had some really, really good couple of games with Mike Williams. Okay. Their chemistry it's coming into fruition right now. So far, Mike Williams has 22 receptions, 295 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's a pretty good, 3-game total. Considering last year he had 5 touchdowns the whole year.
Yeah.
Okay, and he only had 48 receptions. He's almost halfway there.
Sometimes it takes a young quarterback a few
years, right,
to get acclimated to find their number one. But Evans is definitely
I
number
think
one.
he's the guy. Now, don't forget, Mike Williams was a stud in college, coming out of Clemson.
Absolutely.
He was 7th pick in the draft.
Yep.
So this guy's no slouch.
Yep.
It's just taken him a couple years to get where he needs to be. So Keenan Allen, another big weapon. Now you mentioned Herbert's stats: 956 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Okay, so now let me break down the game. Okay, both teams are playing good football. I think the Raiders are legit. I don't think it's a fluke. I think they're good. The line's 3 and a hook. Now, that hook is usually there to kind of spook people away. Okay, it's not spooking me away. I think the Chargers are legit. I think at home they're going to win this game. I think the Raiders are going to have a little bit of a letdown. They've been living on, helium for the last 3 weeks, and I think the balloon's going to pop a little bit. So I like the Chargers to cover the 3 and a hook, and I like the over. The last 7 games anybody's played against the Raiders, it's gone over. I see this as another over game. So give me the Chargers minus 3 and a hook, and give me the Raiders. Give me the over 52. What do you think?
Well, I'm going to disagree with you on both of those, actually. The
all
Raiders
right.
are for real. Chargers being a 3 and a hook favorite actually is a little bit surprising to me. They're coming off a big victory. Last week against KC, they were 4 for 11 on 3rd down conversions.
Yep.
Not great. Okay. 8 penalties, 50 yards. If you look on the stats, they shouldn't have won that game against KC. They did win it, and congratulations to them. But you talked about Herbert's stats of 6 touchdowns, 3 picks. Well, he was 4-0 last week. He had
Little top heavy is
4
what you said?
touchdowns, no picks last week. 26 for 38, 281. So that means his first 2 games he had 2 touchdowns and 3 picks.
Right.
Okay. Justin Herbert is going to be an elite quarterback in this league.
Yeah, agree.
He's not yet. He's getting there. He's progressing very nicely. He has all the tools of a Josh Allen. This league now, excluding Tom Brady, who's say he's going to play till he's 50.
He will.
And he might.
He will. Yeah.
At the elite level.
Yes.
But this quarterback resurgence we're seeing in the league, led by Mahomes, Herbert, Lawrence, Allen. You have, even Dak Prescott's young.
Yeah.
You have this is a fantastic group of quarterbacks. I think what's going to happen is I think the Raiders are going to shut down the Chargers run game, which is led by Austin Eckler.
Yep.
He had 11 carries last week for 55 yards. It's kind of, and Herbert was the second leading rusher.
Yep. He was.
Now, if they shut down Eckler and they can concentrate on Herbert in the pocket, Williams, is he quick enough in single coverage or double coverage to break out? Is Keenan Allen? I don't think Keenan Allen's. I think he might have lost a step or so. Austin Eckler caught 6 out of the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
I see Raiders all over this game.
Okay.
I'm definitely going to take the under as well.
We're going totally opposite
we are.
here. Okay.
52. I think I'm looking at a 23-17.
Close game. You like a
Raiders win.
Okay.
I'm thinking that John Gruden, Super Bowl winning coach. Of course, this is his second time with the Raiders. He hasn't been playing at a high level. I can't even believe it's a 3-0. But I see it. So yeah, you and I are opposite on that.
Okay.
I see the Raiders winning that and definitely the under on 52.
All right. So
Way too high.
So those are our spotlight games, college and football. We also looked at the Thursday night clash and the Monday night clash. So before we go to the quick hitters, this is kind of an in-between quick hitter. We didn't talk about the game that everybody on the planet's talking about, and that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady going home to play the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
Line is 7. Tampa Bay's -7. On the road, favorite at New England. Points total set at 49. Very little analysis.
On the road again.
On the road,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
No real analysis here. I'm telling you, the Patriots cover this game.
No.
Okay, taking the Pats, 7 points at home. Wouldn't be surprised if the Pats win this game. Okay, that's my nickel. Quick hitter. Okay?
Disclaimer is he's a Patriots fan. There's no way the Patriots compete in this game coming up. Brady is going to come into New England and probably, besides set the town on fire, will probably be a 350 to 375 yard guy with 4 touchdowns. You're going to see a decimation in New England like New England has not seen.
So you're saying play some of Tom Brady's prop bets over?
It's going to be a 48 to 21
Wow,
win.
really?
Brady has got something to prove.
Coming off a loss, you think even last week because the
Absolutely. I mean,
all right, okay. So
it's Mac Jones. I guess he's the second coming of Brady. That's what every New England fan wants to see. I'm sorry, but you don't see it.
no, not yet.
Because-
You can't. Don't even make anyone making that comparison is ridiculous. Okay.
First of all, James White announced today he's out for the season.
Yeah.
Um,
Is he going to sign with the Bucks? Is that
well,
he might?
yeah, he's out for the
Maybe.
season, but who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna. So let's forget about Brady for a second and his Super Bowl rings that can't fit on one hand. Gronk's making a return.
Yeah. People
Okay.
forget that. You're right.
Do you think Gronk wants to spike that in the end zone? It's
Couple
not, It's not
times.
going to be pretty.
Couple
I'm going to tell you that
times.
right now. And you're going to see, I'm not a New England fan. I don't hate any team. I'm not a New England fan. But you're going to see an extremely disgruntled Bill Belichick at the end of the game
Yes.
barely touch Bruce Arians' hand.
Little fake.
If he does it all. And then you're going to see a post-game conference that you're going to want to pull the rest of your hair out. Because it's going to be, yep.
They scored more points than us.
They scored. I don't care about social media.
They more made plays
It's
than
like,
us. Yeah.
and he's going to have a reason to be
All right, fair enough.
really upset. I mean,
Again, we really didn't have any analysis on this game.
No,
I'm not playing it as one of my picks. You're right. This is as a
It's
fan
not
of
even
New
gonna be
England.
pretty, I can tell you.
I want the Patriots to come to play
Yes,
this
you
week.
do.
I really do. And I like Tom Brady and I like Gronk. But listen, we've been waiting for this game all year. Everybody since he signed with Tampa Bay. So go Pats. Anyway, so that's a disclaimer.
Yes,
all right.
okay.
All right, let's move on to the quick hitters. Like I
right.
said, very little analysis, but we want to give you some extra plays because we got some emails from folks saying, "Hey, give me some more stuff." Okay, so I'm going to go to the English Premier League, the EPL. Manchester United is hosting Everton. Manchester United is -1 goal, and it's a -115. So take them minus a goal. I like Manchester United to win this game. Last 14 matches between these two squads. Manchester United's won 8 of them. They've tied 5, and Everton's only won 1. Okay, so Everton can't beat Man U for whatever reason. Goals, it's 2.5 is the total, -122 to the over. They usually score a lot of goals. Last 13 games, I think there's been 40 goals scored combined. So, and of course, the big news was Ronaldo coming back to Man U. So take Man U and over the 2.5. All right, college football. Indiana at Penn State. Penn State favored by 10.5. Points total set at 52. Indiana's 2-2. The folks from Happy Valley are 4-0. This is a 7:30 game at Happy Valley. Very hostile environment. I like Penn State here. Last 24 meetings, Penn State has won 22 of them. One of the wins for Indiana was last year. It was a 36-35 thriller. Again, Penn State probably should have won that game. They penciled this game in. This is a payback game. I like the Lions to roar here, so to speak. So take Penn State -10.5, and I like the over. College football, again, BYU -9 on the road to take on Utah State. BYU is 4-0. They're 13th ranked in the country. Eric, national championship potential here. If they run the table, I know their schedule is weak, but if they go 13-0, they have to be in the discussion. By the way, BYU is 15-1 going back to last season, so they've been playing some really good football. A lot of people coming back from injury for BYU. They get healthy. I like BYU -9 to cover this game, and not because they're a better team, but they are. But the cool stat about this is they've been changing their uniform every game, literally the style.
Yep.
They're not going to change it until they lose. So their tailor is making some big bucks. My last quick hitter for this week is Bellator MMA. Douglas Lima, the number 2 welterweight, takes on the number 3 challenger in Michael Venom Page, MVP in London. Now this is Michael Venom Page's hometown. This is a 2019 rematch. Venom Page is 19-1. His one loss was to Lima. This is a payback, okay? Douglas Lima is 32-9. I like Venom Page. He's a -115 to win this fight. I've actually seen this guy fight 4 times. He's fought 5 times at Mohegan Sun. Venom Page is a beast. At home, he wins this bout.
Very good. Nice little quick hitters there. I got 4 quick hitters myself. We're going to start off with the WBC Heavyweight Championship battle versus Tyson Fury against Deontae Wilder. The 3rd meeting takes place October 9th in the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. What more can you say? These 2 guys, they should not be fighting, or I should say, it wasn't planned for them to be fighting again before the Unified Heavyweight Championship bout was fought with Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. Wilder brings Fury to court, alleging that he backed out of a 3rd fight, a trilogy rematch clause. The court sides with Wilder. Now we have a fight October 9th. Okay, Fury is a 5-1 favorite. Okay, my thoughts. Now Fury is coming in 50 pounds heavier. He wants to be up to 50 pounds heavier than he was the first fight.
Wow.
And he says because he broke Deontay Wilder's eardrum and cracked his skull the last fight. And he says he wants him to stay on the canvas. He's going to come in at 300 pounds.
That is a big dude.
He's 6'9". Wilder's 6'7". And the knock on Wilder, I mean, he's got long reach. He's actually got slightly longer reach than Fury. But he's almost too light. He comes in 225, 230.
Wow.
You know, and Fury, my bet is, now Fury's, the money line is -275 on Fury. I'm going to go Fury KO under less than the 8th round. 8th round or sooner.
Gotcha.
You can't debate. Tyson Fury has said on many occasions that Deontay Wilder is the hardest puncher he's ever faced in his life.
Mm-hmm.
He did knock him down to the canvas where nobody thought he was going to get up in the first fight. In the 12th round, he did get up, and it was a draw. Many people thought Fury won that round. Fury came back, knocked Wilder out. Okay, so that being said, as far as boxing IQ, Fury is among the top in any weight range. Very smart boxer. Way too much skills for Wilder. Wilder didn't start boxing until he was 19. It's going to be Fury with a KO, and it's going to finally
end that discussion, right?
And then they're going to move on to Usyk, who knocked out Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, we'll do a show on that.
So next is some college football for you. Air Force on the road.
I heard that before.
I
like that.
At New Mexico. Neither one of these teams are ranked. I'm an Air Force guy. The over-under on the total points is 49. You're going to take Air Force, and you're going to take the over. Okay.
What's the line on the game?
49.
49. Okay. Air Force and the over.
Next up is Auburn on the road, visiting LSU. LSU is a 4-point favorite. You're going to take LSU at home, and you're going to take the under, which is 53 and a hook. Take the under on that. It's going to be a low-scoring game. And then Fresno State's going to travel all the way across the Pacific to Hawaii.
So they're on the road.
They're in the boat, on the road, in the plane at Hawaii. They come in 11-point favorite, and they could literally send the defensive line to have Mai Tais on the beach during the game and just play offense.
There you go.
They're not going to have a problem. The points are set at 64. Take the over. Take Fresno State.
All right, so the Bulldogs are going to beat up the Warriors.
Absolutely.
They used to be the Rainbow Warriors.
Warriors.
Now it's just the Warriors.
That's
so,
offensive.
But anyways, all right. So I think we're gonna head for the turnstiles, and we're gonna head for the exits, and we're gonna put a bow on tonight's show. But anyways, hope we entertained everybody, and we gave you some good insight this week as we're gonna close out this week's episode. And listen, we appreciate you listening. And again, check out all our socials. Search 7 and a Hook. 7 and a Hook, Twitter. And it's Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Website's coming. Eric's working diligently on that. It looks awesome. Going to have a nice surprise another week or so here. But anyways, listen, we appreciate you taking the time to be with us. And as we always say, may your bad beats be small and your big wins be monster.
Thanks again for tuning in to the 7 and a Hook podcast. Until next time, may your bad beats be small and your big wins be monster.